Woohoo! First time running HO anything in like 30 years. Probably more, actually. Look at it go. Today we're going to talk about getting started with HO and some HO track and stuff. And I still have this Brio out because I wanted to make a point. You know, HO especially, you can do it on a wide variety of budgets. I mean, there's locomotives that cost $500-600. You can get started with a locomotive that costs $10 at a garage sale. So HO is a great place to get started. It always has been. But one place you might not want to cheap out is with track. And this is something that was just apparent to me at a very young age, as a very young model railroader when I played with these things, but it also carried on when I graduated to an HO set. You really don't want to cheap out on your track. I mean, there's other brands of wooden railway and they are less expensive. Brio track per foot cost about as much as LGB track. It's insane. But when you go to other brands, they maybe don't fit together as well, or you know, the curve's a little off, or this, that, and the other. So, you know, that's one thing I learned at a very young age, was to just not cheap out on the track. And that is advice that was also handed to me from the guy at the model railroad store and stuff when I was growing up. And I thought, well, you know, he's looking to sell track, of course. But no, it was true. The steel track I was buying, just wasn't as good as the brass or the nickel silver. So let's talk about Kato. It's pronounced Kato. As some of you may recall, I started experimenting with N scale just a little bit about 6 months ago. And I was extremely impressed with the Kato brand. Their track, just how everything fits together very nicely. It's clearly, they have a good quality product. So it made sense when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do some HO on the review channel. It made sense to go with Kato. That Bachmann starter set I did recently, there's nothing wrong with the Bachmann track. If that's where you want to get started, that's okay. But it is just okay. It's a steel rail. It will corrode. It won't last as long. And depending on what level of modeling you're doing or what you're going for, you know, maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe that's okay. If it's just a layout for your kid and you think he's gonna not be as interested in it in 2 years, save some money. Sure, I get it. You know, in that case, I'd probably buy used. But, you know, if this is a long-term thing for you, I would suggest going with Kato or a similar quality brand. Why? It's nickel silver, it conducts extremely well, and it does not corrode. My second choice would be a brass track. I don't really recall who makes brass track in HO off the top of my head. I use brass for G-scale. That works. I only do my G-scale inside. I would not use brass if I was going outside. And then there's the steel, which, you know, as I said, you know, it is gonna need to be cleaned more and corrode and all that. This, like the Bachmann track, this snaps together. But this was just a really nice quality product. And as such, it is a little more expensive. This right here, the Kato HM1, as you can see with this one, you get an oval of track and you get a power pack. So that's cool. So you are ready to go just with that. That retails right now for about $169, $179. I added 4 packs of long straight track. It looks like 2, but there's 4 in there. Yeah, there's, you can kind of see it's kind of hidden under there. So each one of these is about an extra 4 feet of, a little more than an extra 4 feet of track. These were about $14-15 a piece, I believe. So it's another $60. So I'm all in on this for $230, I think, if my math in my head is right. And that may sound like a lot, and we all have different budgets, and that's fine. Go with what makes sense for you. But if you know you're going to be doing this for a while and you can afford to start with a better track, I mean, maybe you know, if you're gonna cheap out somewhere or go on a budget somewhere, I know the inclination is like, well, I don't want to cheap out on a locomotive. Fair point, but you definitely don't want to cheap out on the track, because whether you have a good locomotive or kind of a second tier locomotive or whatever, they all have to make this is, you know, the rails matter because that conducts the electricity and stuff. So I would encourage you, if you're gonna splurge somewhere and you can't splurge everywhere, I would encourage you to splurge on the track. That's my 2 cents. There are certainly model railroaders that are vastly more experienced than I, and if they have another opinion, please let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to learn and know why other people have other opinions. I mean that sincerely. Just don't be a jerk about it. So that's I'm gonna set this up, and we'll see just how easy this goes together, and we'll do a couple circuits with a loco, and take a closer look at that transformer. That is the same power pack, I guess I should say. That is the same power pack that they use for N-scale. It's compatible with HO, which is nice. And I didn't really talk about that in the super cheap N-scale starter set video, so I'll talk about that a little more in this video. If you're new here, this is Dick the Cat. He's just a part of videos. That's just how life is. He likes to participate. So here's the box, and there's all kinds of samples of other layout and additional track pieces you can get and stuff. As you can see, some of it's in Japanese. Kato's a Japanese company, and that is not a bad thing, because as Marty McFly told us in Back to the Future 3, Doc, all the best stuff's made in Japan. I don't know about all the best stuff, but at least in the case of model railroading, Kato makes a very quality product. I love their boxing, just across the board in general. You know, if you can't have a layout set up all the time, I mean, here it is. It's all, you know, that's one issue I have with G-Scale sometimes is, what do I do with all this track? And then it doesn't all stay together easily and stuff. Like here it is. It all has inserts for all of it. So you can get your cars on the track. Everybody calls these a re-railer, but wouldn't it just be a railer, not a re-railer? I was thinking about that the other night because I have too much time on my hands. All right, let's set up an oval. Ta-da! Here we are. We got our track all set up. Zoom out for you guys. So this is set up on 4 tables that measure 6 foot by 2.5 foot, or 72-inch tables by 30. I just put 4 of them together. The track, as you can see, I had leftover track. I got a bunch more tables around here, but I kind of reached the end of stuff I want to move around for the moment. But the track that you get with the base set that I showed you guys, the turns are 26 inches, more or less. I think that's the right terminology. Hope so. HO guys, please correct me if I'm wrong. But about 26-inch curves, which most, not all, most HO locomotives can take. I'm sure there's some really big steam engines with lots of little detailed parts that maybe need something a little bigger, like a 30-inch or 32-inch. But I think any diesel you'll run and most stuff would work on that just fine. So didn't even use all that track. I got 2 packages and a couple pieces left over, so this could have been put together for a little bit less, or I could have had a couple more tables down there. But so we talked about where to save money. I mean, this is rolling stock I bought today at and a locomotive I bought today at Hilltop Hobbies in Akron, Ohio. And I picked out this chassis because I had this exact thing. I had this exact locomotive, not just like the model and stuff, but also like the company that made it and whatnot. I had this exact one as a kid. God only knows where it is now. It's not perfect. You can see a couple little ladder pieces broke off. They're there on the other side though. Hopefully you can see that. So when I saw it in the case with the used HL locomotives, I'm like, oh, well, that brings me back. The company that makes it is Lifelike. I asked a train friend here, Mr. Pictovid, if you guys ever watch his channel. He has a lot of great G-Scale stuff. I asked him, I said, hey, any chance you know what this is? Because he knows a whole lot more about this hobby than I do. And he said, it might be an AHM. And that at least gave me a starting, jumping off point. And AHM, the tooling and stuff was bought by Lifelike. And this was probably manufactured in the late 80s, most likely. I got this as part of a set with 3 locomotives, I think like around Christmas of 90, somewhere around there. But yeah, this was, and I was a steam engine guy, but this was like my favorite one. Lord only knows where it is now. But this was $27. And some people are probably like, oh my God, $27 for Lifelike? Because if you're new to the hobby, just like different brands of cars and stuff, you know, you got your Hondas and your Toyotas and your Lexuses and your doesn't have to be Japanese, but you got your Chevys and you got your Cadillacs, for example, right? So, some of them are fancier and all that, and they cost a lot more. Lifelike was a very bargain brand. It was very much like this kind of a toy thing for a lot of people. Probably got their start there. It's comparable to Tyco back in the day, and I think Lifelike's been largely forgotten about. So it was $27. Why did I pay $27 for that, though? Because I'm sure some people are thinking that's way too expensive. Well, this hobby shop was very nice. They were very helpful. They took it out. They tested it for me. It had been gone through and serviced and everything. It's lubed and oiled and everything's good to go. So I don't want anything breaking on me. I don't want to deal with all that drama. I don't enjoy the part of the hobby where you have to fix things. So to me, that was worth it. And the nostalgia aspect of it. If you're wondering what kind of locomotive this is, it's an EMD. I believe it is an FP40? I really hope I didn't just mess that up. I did a little research before the video and my short-term memory may have just failed me. I believe it's an FP40. Interestingly, and I'll do a separate review on this, so I won't get too far into it, don't worry, but Chassis never ordered this locomotive, never wore Chassis colors. It was only used by Santa Fe and Milwaukee Road. And then these tank cars back here, I just grabbed some of these because these are brands I kind of think are cool and look good. Texaco, we've all seen the silver Texaco tank cars in the past. Got this Union 76. I don't know if they were in other parts of the country more, but we saw Union 76 everywhere growing up in California. And I think their parent company was Unical, if I remember right. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that again. I haven't seen those since I moved. And then here's a Gulf Oil, which that's just an iconic, cool brand. So I grabbed that. These were $6 a piece. I don't know offhand what brand they are. I mean, they look okay. They're very plasticky. They're not, they're nothing like fancy. They're very light, but they're old. I mean, I'll do another video talking about those tank cars, but $27 plus 18. What is that in my head? 37. So what? $45. Put together a little train, and then all the track and stuff we got here, and that's not a bad start. Certainly could have saved money if I had gone with cheaper track. And if I didn't go to a hobby store, if I went to a garage sale or a train show or swap meet, I'm sure I could have gotten rolling stock and locomotive for less. But the overall point being, I recently bought a Broadway Limited NW2. And that switcher was a lot of money. That was probably as much as I spent on track, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a beautiful locomotive. I'll also be reviewing that very soon. And I'll do a comparison of an inexpensive locomotive versus an expensive locomotive. Certainly this thing is not DCC. But if you're just getting started, if you want to stick your toe in the water, this get some used stuff. And just set it up in your, some spare space, garage, basement, whatever, and just start checking it out. See if you like it. purposely left the price tags on. This has just been kind of my 2 cents. If you're thinking about getting started, HO is a good jumping off point as far as price. You can start pretty inexpensively. G-Scale, as much as I love it, even the basic stuff is hundreds of dollars. So I'm not knocking G-Scale, I love it. But if you're not sure this hobby is for you, maybe start with a small HO set. Doesn't mean you can't sell it and change scales later on. Doesn't mean you can't run both. When you include the wooden railway stuff I do, I guess I run 4 different sizes of trains. That's okay with me. Even if I didn't do this stuff on YouTube, I might still have 2 or 3 different ones. I imagine I would anyway.